Hello, welcome to today's Phoenix Perspective, a talk with a brother who I have the utmost respect for, who has made an impact in my life in a short period of time, who has come in and shown me what a brother and true friendship really is, who is an inspiration to so many across the state of Maryland, and those across the country are getting to learn a lot about this brother and his journey, his story. So I'm glad to have him here with me today just to discuss life and our friendship and partnerships and what he's doing, because he's doing some major things that will affect people of color, people who have been forgotten about, people who need love. So today I welcome LaRian Finney. Tell the world about yourself, sir.
So LaRian Finney with the Finn Group. We've been in business for 25 years, man. And we started out marketing, branding, and doing major events, NAACP convention, NFL, Super Bowl, things of that nature. But right now, my focus is really on creating spaces where corporate vision is tied directly to the impact within our community. And we still do events, but events always have a direct tie right back to the community. So we're doing that. We're doing development. We're doing furniture, fixture, and equipment. But everything that we touch and that we're a part of has to have an impact on the communities where we live, work, and play.
Steve, I interviewed Derek Chase earlier, who you partner with on different venues and occasions. And Derek had some real wonderful things to say about you and your strength, your humility. And I want to share that with people because people don't know. People see you and you walk around like a man of stature. You are a man of stature, but you walk that walk. And I think you have several tattoos that explain your motto and what you live by. Mm-hmm. Could you show and explain those tattoos to my people?
Yeah. So real quick, these are my badges. I call them badges. It's love, gratitude, faith, and humility. And I walk in that space on a daily basis, man. You know, my philosophy is, live a life of abundance. And what that means is that whatever I have today is enough. So you're never chasing and you put yourself in position to be successful. And, I've been through great ups, amazing and unbelievable downs, but through gratitude, humility, faith, and love, we're going to continue to push forward. So I call these my badges, and I wake up every day trying to embody those four virtues.
And I brought that up because one of our first, as getting to know each other, you didn't know me well, I didn't know you well, but we met and it was like a bond.
Right.
And we were having a conversation and you shared that with me. And, it was when my life was good. But you recognized something in me that sticks to me to this day. You said to me, E, if you need help, if you need something, reach out. That's who you are. It was like, reach out. And I still haven't necessarily reached out because you know me, and you'll say, you do these check-ins because you say you struggle and you don't ask.
Right. And
you know that there's things that are happening.
Right.
And it's just something I work on. But going back to those, it sticks in my mind that the humility, we've all had to just be a little more humble. Just take things in stride. Yeah. You mentioned, and this is something that people don't know. Some people know, but your ups and downs. Yeah. Just the guy you see today, and I say that in every which way because I've been that person. I've done a lot of things in my life where I failed, were because of me. Mm-hmm. The way that I was moving, the way that I was living. I take my failures on myself. Right. I made choices, poor choices eliminate chances. Mm-hmm. And I got to that stage where I felt like God was saying, I can't give you any more chances. Like, if you don't do things the right way, then I got to take your chances away, and you may be destitute for the rest of your life.
Right.
But I made those chances. Do you ever feel like when things didn't work out, they were some of your decisions, or were others to blame, or you could have done things differently?
No, man. I try to be a transformative leader, and when you're that type of leader, you don't blame anybody for your challenges but you always give credit to your team when you're winning. So one of my greatest opportunities for learning, I don't call them failures, opportunities for learning. I went out into Prince George's County, and I had an amazing idea, and to do an international festival, because the reason it's between Baltimore and DC, they have a very international population in Prince George's County, but I sucked almost $2.7 million in cash that I lost and had to start completely over. And it's not so much the starting over, but the blessing from that is where I met my wife. So that's what I'm saying, is opportunities for learning. So I learned her character. So I'm sitting, it's a Sunday, you know, my accountant comes and say, man, we underwater $2.7 million. I was like, wow. I had $10,000 left in my bank account. So I go to the hotel with my wife. I said, I don't even know how I'm gonna send this last $50,000 before I even deal with all the vendors. I'm gonna have to call and say, you're gonna have to take 50 cents on the dollar, because I can't pay you what the number is. So my then girlfriend, LaRian Finney, said, don't worry. She wired the 50,000, booked a trip to New Orleans, and then we came back and began slowly building, right? So this is 2014. So in 2016, she takes me to the Bahamas for my 50th birthday. So it's really funny.
Now it's funny.
No, it's funny because I was never really worried. But we land, it's the same day Prince dies, April 21st. And you hear the plane, they call my name to the front, and it's the Border Patrol. They said, Mr. Finney, we need to take you because there's a warrant for your arrest. So I'm like, warrant for my arrest? What the hell is going on? So long story short, and I'm never going to put blame, but I had a deal with Prince George's County. They didn't honor their deal, and I refused to pay them. And they said that I took county services without paying them. But this is what I'm saying. We gotta always be in touch. So long story short, I had an office in Prince George's County. They sent a court document to me. That Friday, I closed the office because I'm on the board. Whatever the renters do, here's the rent. I'm done. I'm never going back to Prince George's County. So long story short, they never forward court documents. So my office is in Baltimore. So I never received a court order to come and dispute Prince George's County. So the judge issued a butch warrant for that. But once, we got everything straight, I called my attorney. It was all cleared up. They showed I had documentation of what Prince George's County had promised. The judge said, look, I've already ruled we're going to give restitution, do 10%, and it's over. And that was a challenging time from 14 to 16. It was tough, man.
Right.
It was tough, yeah.
And we know.
Yeah, we're going to toast to that.
We came out of that.
Hey,
we came out of it.
No, you come out of it, but you come out of it with an amazing wife. And the lesson is that you go to markets that you can control. Like Prince George's, I had never done anything in Prince George's County. And in hindsight, I could see that it just was not the right location, the right time, or the right type of partners in the county at that particular time. So, we moved on, and, God willing, we won't make that mistake again.
Yes, sir. Now, a lot of people know you as Mr. Jazzy Summer Nights.
Right.
Jazzy Summer, they don't, like I said, there's a whole story before Jazzy Summer Nights.
Right.
But they know Jazzy. That's when I first heard the name, was 25 years ago.
Right.
Jazzy Summer Nights, which was, in the summertime, one of the greatest things that happened in Baltimore City. Tell us how you came up with the concept and the belief in Jazzy Summer Nights.
Yeah, man, it was, this is probably 96, 97. I had a relationship. Larry Stewart, former NBA player, went to Coppin. He and I opened up a restaurant, little lounge on Calvert Street called Larry Stewart's Place. And we used to do these jazz and jam sessions, right? And it just became too many people. So we're actually sitting up on the third floor in our restaurant in the office, and I look across the street, and it's an open alley. It was dirty, blah, blah, blah. But I said, dude, what if we put a stage in the middle of the alley and we call it Jazz in the Alley. That's how it started. And then folks who were running downtown partnership would see, because we closed the entire street off between Lombard and Redwood on Calvert. It was all folks out for the event. So Downtown Partnership said, would you be willing to do an expanded version of this? And I said, yeah. They were underwriters and my first partners. And I called it Jazzy Summer Nights, and 25 years ago, that's how it started, man.
25 years.
And this is the 25th and final season for the series.
Say it again. Let them hear that.
It's the 25th and final year of the season of Jazzy Summer Nights. Absolutely.
And I know there's people who don't want Jazzy Summer Nights to end.
Yeah.
Because it means a lot, A, to the city,
right, B,
to the people. Like, you bring artists from all over the country to perform.
right,
and it's always an amazing event.
Mm.
So if you can share, you may want to keep it close to the vest, but do you have anything special for the 25th year of Jazzy Summer Night?
Yeah, you're gonna get the exclusive launch of who we're bringing. So in June, I'm doing Kindred. July is gonna be Raheem Devon, one of my favorite artists. Then we're gonna do a whole go-go tribute with the Go-Go Museum. Layla Hathaway in September, and then Drew Hill in October to close it out.
Okay. And when does it start? What's the start date?
So we're gonna do a special free event May 1st to launch the 25-year celebration, because we're going back to the home of Jazzy Summer Nights, which is Hopkins Plaza. So we're gonna go to Hopkins Plaza. I'm gonna have my favorite DJs. We're gonna do the ceremonial thing with the mayor and the governor and Shalana Stokes from Downtown Partnership. But the event, actual concerts start June 5th, and we go through October.
Now, I'm gonna say, like I said, for me, I spoke about this earlier with Derek. I have friends. I have a lot of good friends,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have a lot of good friends who I can call my brother.
Right.
And feeling that with you, it isn't because anything you've done for me.
Right.
It's what I've seen you do for community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, like-minded people do like-minded things. And
Right.
the things you do for the community and those that you love and those who support you is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we built a bond at Jazzy Summer Nights when, unfortunately, one of your people who worked with you had passed.
Right.
And you made a request to everyone in Jazzy Summer Nights to help her daughter.
Right.
And you didn't ask me to do anything. You said, hey, I would like for people to help support this child as she moves on with the loss and all that. And I made a donation, and you were thankful for that. And it was heartfelt. It didn't feel like I was just giving to something. It felt like I was giving to a purpose.
Right.
And I think your effect on people in general, everything you do is a purpose to uplift our people,
Right.
uplift your city. And I'm a Miss Jazzy.
But we got something else.
I know there's always something.
No, you came out to Monterey with us, so you got a little sample during that water, and I'm going to bring something back from 26. So, we know, it's like, first let me just say, one, your heart, and the reason I love you is that you're just a giving person, number one.
Thank you.
And I can always call if I need you, and there's never any questions, so I don't take that for granted. So I want to say that publicly. But, just 25 years, I started Jazzy booking music that I like.
That you like, right.
So if you think about the artists that came through Lettucey and Raheem and Kindred and Fertile Ground, it was all the music of my soundtrack of my life. And it's just a different time now, right? So I think going back to Hopkins Plaza, booking artists that are still some of my favorites, but have their own fun, I think is the best way to go out. And then we just come up with, what I think is a void. We don't have any major jazz festivals in our city. And I'm going to team up with Darren Atwood, and we're going to bring something to the city in 26.
And for those of you who don't know, Darren is a special, special man. I had the opportunity to go out to the Monterey Jazz Festival with LaRian and Darren was what was his title?
Artistic director.
He was the artistic director. And it was a major event. I got to see Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman on the stage watching all. It was just an amazing event. And I appreciate you for having me come out and treating me like I was one of them. That was special to me. I didn't ask, you just said, you with me, we going, this is what we going to do. We had a great time.
Wow.
Growing up, Derek and I spoke about this, about growing up in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
What was your childhood experience like growing up in Baltimore City?
Yeah, I grew up in Cherry Hill, man, and, it's the rough and tumble, but it was an amazing community. And I got geared towards the rec centers very early, played all the sports, basketball, baseball, and football. Was really, 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 really good in baseball, and probably could have went pro, but all the females were at the basketball games. So that was my second sport, and I was fortunate to, grow up in Cherry Hill, had great mentors and rec leaders. Ended up going to Poly, played basketball at Poly, and then got a scholarship at Mount St. Mary's and played for Coach Fallon. So, but Cherry Hill is always that thing in me that even when I'm having tough times, I go out and just ride that community and say, look, man, if you can manage and navigate out of this situation, then it's only a situation. And that's why I go back and I live a life of abundance. What I have today is enough. Mm-hmm. And we just keep it moving, man. And we'll always get things figured out.
Because I brought this up, like I said, people, when they hear you're from Baltimore, everybody's like, did you see The Wire? Did you live in The Wire? Did you live in the corner?
Right.
Like, everything is that negative. And I was listening to Derek, and you know Derek very well.
Yeah.
And Derek talked about his story. And if he didn't say what the story was, you'd think it was a drug dealer story.
Right.
Because of the concepts of seeing a corner, they're selling food. No, I'm going to sell my food. Right. I'm going to do this for my college.
Right.
And it was amazing.
Right.
And I hear you talk, and I feel that same love for community and wanting to take back and over your community and build. We talk about this all the time. This is about what we need to do for each other, what we need to do for our race, our people of color, people who are less fortunate.
Right. Yeah, man, it's really about accountability. And, to whom much is given, much is required. It's a very overused statement, but it's really the truth. And we're very fortunate that we've been able to walk through some doors, sit at some tables. And our responsibility in those rooms is very simple. We have to make that table larger, right? We have to bring more people to the table. And then more importantly, we have to hold that table accountable to how it's going to impact our community, whether it's jobs, whether it's resources, whether it's information. And what we try to do in the few events that we curate, we try to show the real optics of our city. So if you look at Jazzy or Afro Preak or the Met Gala, we two Baltimore guys that have built and walked in rooms and set a standard that really shows the best of our city. And I think that's the responsibility that we have. And I get that being able to have the steadfastness, I get it from being raised in Cherry Hill, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For being raised in that community and seeing the struggles and not falling for the pitfalls and having family and good friends around made all the difference. It's, I talked to a friend of mine one day, and I have a few friends who are accountability friends who've known me all my life.
Right.
And during one of our discussions, he said to me, Rick, you're doing these things and they all sound good, but growing up, you had everything you ever wanted. And in my mind, I'm thinking, nah, I didn't. Like, he saw my mom. My mom broke her ass to make sure I had everything she could afford.
Right.
But what he didn't see was my mom breaking her ass to make sure I had everything I could see and afford. He didn't see me not having that father figure in my home that I always lived for. You lived for me. I lived to have my father as a part of my life.
Right.
Unfortunately, he wasn't.
Right.
And that was his loss. But I tell people all the time, what made me a good athlete and a great athlete in a small pond was anger. That anger, I was filled with anger to be the best, so I can look at him and say, look at me, look at me. Mm-hmm. And people never understood that anger and that drive. Mm-hmm. So for me, it helped me become the person that I am today and that I choose to be, which is I always wanted my father as a role model.
Mm-hmm.
And not having him as a role model made me say, you can go two ways. I can be like that, or I can be the role model.
Right.
Which is something I take. Role model is what I wanted to be. I knew what I wanted to be as a father because my lack of a father.
Mm-hmm.
Also, due to my faith in God, would always hold me down.
Right.
Growing up in your home, was it you, your father, your mother, siblings? How was that dynamic?
No, and to your point, man, that's really one of the things that has drawn me to you because, and that's why I do check-ins with you, because I know that a lot of times you're on an island by yourself and that you need to have a safe space where you can be vulnerable and know that the person that you're talking to only loves you, don't want anything from you, but only want the best for you. So, and I think that spirit in me came from my grandmother, my mother. My dad passed away when I was 3 from drugs. I had a stepfather. But my role models, the people who really instilled toughness and being critical thinking, were elementary school teacher, Mr. Morton. I am 58, and I can call his name like it was yesterday, because he's the one that told me, don't go to Cherry Hill Junior High, you're going to go to Roland Park. And then from Roland Park, I go to Poly. From Poly, I get a scholarship. So just that small diversion put me in a situation where it was smart people from different backgrounds, but I saw folks that looked like me who had high expectations of what success should look like. So Mr. Borton, then my coaches, 13, 14, 15, 18 under, those are the folks I still talk to today who had a profound impact on me. So I had a steady household, but my mom dealt periodically with mental health issues. Mm-hmm. So growing up as the oldest with 2 younger sisters, navigating again toughness, flexibility, being able to adapt was out of my household. And then being able to go and succeed and walk with confidence came from the men that were around me. So I was very blessed to have really good guidance and good role models on the male and female side.
And I'm saying it's like me. I also, it's community. We were raised in that era.
Yeah.
The community played a real big part in our lives.
Right.
And they shaped who we've become and who we are. And we can handle ourselves in any situation. I like to use the term, back in that era, we were built for tough.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we couldn't overcome that was in front of us. So after that, we've done Jazzy. Now you've done this thing that everybody looks in New York every year. They say, hey, the Met Gala is coming up. The Met.
Right.
And you see everybody wearing these funky outfits, trying to outshine everybody else. And you came up with this concept. I can do that.
Yeah. I
can make that happen and put my city, because for you, it's about your city.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And that's the thing that this my heart. Like, it's your city.
Right.
And you live it like it's your city.
Right.
And people don't understand the weight of trying to put a city on your back and wanting to support, wanting to help, not wanting to beg or feel like I'm begging, but want people to say, hey, he's doing this for us.
Right.
Let's chime in and help him.
Right.
So tell us about the Met Gala that's coming up soon.
Yes.
Tell us about the Met Gala.
So it's a great story, man. I'm sitting, Chase comes to me with all these ideas, and I probably received 2 out of 100. Because I also know that the execution really is going to fall on my team. And he's a great thinker, big thinker, but we got to have the execution at a very high level. So he was like, man, I saw this party. It was probably only 25 people, but they were dressed to the nines. So he introduced me to this guy, and we said, look, let's do a version of the Met Gala, but I want to do fashion, culinary, and art, and then have a philanthropic style where we recognize individuals from the community who are doing amazing things. So we came up with the initial concept. The Baltimore Met Gala did it at the Baltimore Museum of Art. Year 2, we were at the M&T Exchange, and then last year we were at Live Casino. And what it's done, man, just the breadth of participants, 10 designers, all African American, 10 restaurants, African American, Hispanic, 20 artists, African American, female. And then we gave, I think, 6 to 7 community impact awards. And then 150 models, 30 hair designers. So the totality of 500 people working on the event before you even get to the people who support and attend. And then I have great partners like Cordish and Live Casino, where we can continue to grow the event and stay under one roof, has been a blessing. And, you know, we joke that now the original Met Gala in New York, they have black men leading it. Never in the history have black men been at the lead. And I do know that the last 2 years they've had folks from New York come down and look at our concept because they have been losing momentum. Mm-hmm. People have been losing interest in what they were doing. And I think we'll continue our momentum because it's fashion, art, and food, not just fashion. And it's just not about your walk up to the event.
Absolutely.
It's about the content that we've created and how we support and uplift those businesses within our community to do good things and put them on really on a platform that, if not for the Met Gala, they wouldn't be there.
Gotcha. And there's one more thing. There's a couple things you have going on, but your next thing that is something that your parents and the parents before them would have never imagined in one of our black neighborhoods, Park Heights, Pimlico, where the jockeys are black. No, some of the jockeys are black. The people who care for the grounds are black. And we never really shared in all the other events that happen at Preakness unless we were the waiters and the caterers and those people.
Right.
You do something there called Afro Preak.
Yes.
Tell the world about Afro Preak because I will be an Afro Preak and you need to be an Afro Preak. Tell the world about Afro Preak.
Yeah, again, it's you know, I think we built relationships and we built trust with people in the community. So one of my friends is Alex Smith, who owns Atlas Restaurant Group. Back in 2022, he was called to do the catering for this reimagined Preakness Live concept back in 22. And the new ownership of Preakness asked him, you know, who should we contact to really get connected to the city? And thankfully, Alex said call LaRian Finney and his team. So we're talking to the owners of Preakness, the new owners, Stronach Group. I said, I just don't want to be, you know, helping with marketing. We're going to do something. We need to have a footprint inside. And if we're going to do a footprint, it needs to be Afro Preak because it's strictly about our people, our culture, and everyone's welcome, but we're going to highlight the best of who we are. So we started literally in 2022 in a small bay with 150 people. And then it grew to 700. Then to close to 1,600 last year, and we'll be close to 3,000 people this year, man. And because of the value that we bring to the partnership with the owners of Preakness, they've grown with us, and they've allowed us to program that event with no input. So we decide what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, what food vendors we choose. 95% of the vendors that work on Afro Preak are African American men and women, and we're going to be in the prime space because it was always our goal back in 147 and 22. The 150th, which is this year, the 150 racing on the Preakness, was always our North Star. So it was always a build up that when we get to 150, we want to be prime position, and we will be next to the owner's suite. On the first turn, it's going to be our people, our vibe, and our culture.
And I will share this because I don't want people to not feel wanted or that they can come. Yes, it's our, meaning people of color.
Right.
But it's not just for people of color.
No,
we embrace.
No,
you embrace
everybody.
All that is great about Baltimore and all that care about Baltimore. Black, white, Hispanic, Korean, whatever it is.
Absolutely. That's a good point but I know our culture is the driver. Mm-hmm. And we have great partners, and our partners will be there. They go across the diaspora of all ethnicities, all races, all genders, or what have you. it's a warm space. And you know, when you walk in there, it's live energy, it's a vibe, it's no who's this and who's that. Everybody's a VIP, and we price it to a point where it's affordable to most folks. And we just want to create an event where it's really Baltimore, it's Preakness. And we should normalize that it's the second leg of the Triple Crown. It's really the Super Bowl that we have coming to our city every year. And that's really been our focus on how, one, do we expand the participation and footprint for African American vendors and participants, but also how do we expand the Preakness brand and open it up to anchor institutions who have not felt involved and included. So not only did we create Afro Preak, we created Meet Me at Preakness, which is geared to these anchor institutions to get their employees and students and whomever to take a look and say, wow, this is something that I can come and enjoy and be proud of in our city.
Your next venture, which is, to this point, could be your biggest venture. Even though I know bigger is coming.
Right.
I know bigger is coming because I know you and I know how you dream.
Right.
You have a building.
Yeah.
You partner in a building, Thurgood Marshall Center. And that's massive because you have community support. You have political support. You have this, anybody who knows Baltimore and what Baltimore is capable of, historic. Let the world know what you are doing with the Thurgood Marshall Center, where it's located, and what it's open and what it's hoping to do for young people, old people, disenfranchised, those who have. Let everybody know what they can do to support this Thurgood Marshall Foundation.
Yeah, it is a pride for me to be able to stand next to Dr. Hathaway. And I think great leaders, sometimes you have to be an even better lieutenant. So I call myself the consigliere for Dr. Hathaway, who runs Beloved Community Services Corporation, who is the entity that went out and raised the $15 million to renovate a historic building in West Baltimore. It's a school where Thurgood Marshall went to school from 1914 to 1921. And that's where he learned the Constitution and so forth. So we've been able to put a $15 million project in the heart of West Baltimore. And now it is activated to provide services. So we have the University of Maryland as one of our anchor partners. We have BWI Airport, who's going to do Project Takeoff, which is really exposing our kids to career opportunities and training in aviation and hospitality. We have Career Communication Group, which is going to do artificial intelligence and large machine learning, which is applicable right now. So for instance, with all this artificial intelligence, one of the key jobs that you don't need a degree for is prompt engineering. Basically, what are the prompts that will make the artificial intelligence spit out the information that is useful to you? We're going to train our kids on how to do that. We have Quarters coming in to do a hospitality specifically to the housing, hotel, and gaming industry.
When you say Quarters, who's cool?
The Quarters Company, they own Merlin Live.
Okay.
They own Power Plant Live. They own Kansas City Live. They own Philly Live. And it's been a great partnership with Ed Evans, who's in charge of corporate responsibility. He came to the building like, look, let's figure out how we get your company involved in making an impact in our community. Again, how do you take what the corporations say is important and tie it directly to community vitality where it's not a check the box? So within that one building, you have that type of programming. We have violence prevention and so forth. And on the second floor, we built out an amenity center, which is an unbelievable space. And we hosted the Honorable Eric Holder, who did the first Thurgood Marshall lecture. And we just had a plethora of events to come through. And what it does is bring in people who would not traditionally come to West Baltimore. They're coming to that building. And what they see is that you walk into a world-class development. And that's what I'm most proud of. Dr. Hathaway is the engine behind that ship. He's a genius in on how you stack tax credits and earmarks and philanthropy and private and corporate dollars. And I'm very proud to say that building is debt-free, man. And
That's
it is
major.
And and we have other projects within a 4-block radius that within the next 2 years, we'll have 70 million in development within a 4-block radius within 21217.
My God, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, before we go, I need to give you your flowers. And this is the reality of what it is. Like, over the last few years, this state has started recognizing your contributions to community. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, our friendship is bigger than just, hey, guy, how you doing?
Right.
It's linked in building and uplifting our community. And yes, I'm reading, so you know. I see right here, Baltimore Sun recently recognized you as one of the Black Marylanders, and I'm gonna take off the word black because it's bigger than that. It makes us feel good as people of color that one of our own is being recognized. Mm. But you have support of not only Black folks in Maryland, right, but white folks, Chinese, Asian, whomever. Right. Everybody respects the work you do. And you are one of those to watch in 2025, which means 2026, 2027, 20. Once you're on that list, you can't go back. Right, right. And that support is going to be there. Right. I was in D.C. when you were honored for work you did. Right. You know, I've got to see you get your flowers, your name ringing bells for what you've put in, right, for your story. And to be a part of the journey for me, to sit back and watch, and you're humble. Like, you're like, oh, it ain't nothing really. Yeah. You know, I appreciate it. Right. And, you know, I just keep my head down. I keep doing the work. Right. And for me, that is everything. And that speaks to who you are as a father, as a husband, as a son. I know your relationship with mom and how you make sure that things are good. And I appreciate that as a Black man in America. Mm. You know, I try to be that same person to my mother, to my community, right, to those who embrace me. So I want to thank you for coming.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Love and respect. Love and respect, man.
By the way, I'm going to spank that ass on a golf course all summer long. I took an L on New Year's Eve to this man and his partner. I will never lose again. But everything, fam, I appreciate you.
I love and respect you, man. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. So as we end the Phoenix Perspective today.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Remember, don't let where you come from define who you are. Understand that there's a purpose, and we all have a purpose on this earth. And even when it feels like we don't understand it or we don't know how the next step is going to happen or what is for us, the reality is this: we are survivors. We will survive. We will be better. We will do better. And I have a question because I didn't ask this, and I'm sorry I didn't ask it. What do you want your legacy, LaRian Finney's legacy, to be?
That's a great question. I was on a podcast last Friday, and it's simple for me, man. Is that we lay institutions within our community that live long before or long after I'm here. So Thurgood Marshall is a legacy. What we're working on with these HBCUs and data centers. So if I can participate in creating institutions that are here, sustainable, and making an impact when I'm gone, that's what I want my legacy to be. Because what that will do is going to be economic impact, it's going to be cultural impact, it's going to be relevant, sustainable, and what's needed. We have to control institutions. We have to control what the opposites look like. And that's why we created these legacy events. That's why we're doing the stuff with Thurgood Marshall. That's why we want to build these HBCUs around data centers. All that is about creating institutions that live far after my time comes up.
Respect. Respect. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
That's it from the Phoenix Perspective. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Whew.